Sometimes it feels like the noise around us only grows louder and harder to hold. This is 10 Better Minutes, a place for a brief change of pace with stories that quietly remind us the world is more than what the headlines show. Here, we share recent moments of connection and care without ignoring the challenges that remain. Today, you will hear about communities coming together in both sport and faith, finding strength and solidarity in unexpected ways. But to begin, I want to share a story about a simple, thoughtful idea that helps a mother and her son stay connected, even when words are hard to come by. Jessica Fletcher needed a reliable way for her son to be heard, even when the usual tools failed. Hunter is 11 years old, autistic and nonverbal, and most days he communicates through an AAC tablet where he selects words and symbols. One ordinary restaurant trip changed everything in a very small, very urgent way. The AAC device battery died, and in that moment, Hunter could not use his normal voice. Jessica watched him draw and type with his finger instead. She saw how quickly he was trying to communicate and how badly he needed an accessible option right then. She teamed up with a tattoo artist to turn that insight into a backup plan. On her forearm, Jessica had a keyboard tattooed with letters and simple emotion buttons, including a happy face, a sad face, and an I heart you button. When technology was not available, Hunter could tap the tattoo privately and consistently, and Jessica could translate what he wanted to say. After a video showed Hunter using the tattooed keyboard, the idea spread far beyond their family. It earned millions of views and more than 1.5 million likes. People shared it, asked for it, and even offered free tattoo sessions for others. A clothing company partnered with Jessica to make shirts printed with the same keyboard down the sleeve, so the communication option could travel too. This story is a reminder that belonging can be designed. Sometimes the most hopeful innovation is simply making sure a person can always reach someone, one clear, touchable button at a time. It can be hard to plan for tomorrow when recovery is a waiting room, not a straight line. But in Arnhem in June, a different kind of countdown turns that uncertainty into something you can hold in your hands. The European Transplant Games in Arnhem organize an Olympic-style week for transplant recipients, dialysis patients, living donors, and donor family members, inviting about 600 athletes to compete at their own pace. One good start comes when Robert Lindemann, a 32-year-old accountant from Germany with a heart transplant, chooses bowling, pétanque, and shot put, and shows up anyway, not as a patient, but as a competitor. Around him, national gender and age do not set the rules. The rules are sportsmanship, practice, and cheering each other on from court to court. Across the grounds, Adele Collins from Ireland, who received double lung transplants in 2021 after a serious illness, steps into the darts competition and earns a bronze medal, her first European Transplant Games experience, making the day feel both new and earned. What makes this week land is that hope is not an abstract word. It becomes a schedule, a skill, and a shared belonging. Lynn Holt, a heart and lung transplant coordinator in the United Kingdom, also reminds everyone that the waiting game is difficult, and that is precisely why moments like these matter. When the games end, many athletes leave motivated and outward-looking, and the event also raises public awareness of organ donation, turning individual courage into a community message. When the rules around staying safe and together in a new country change overnight, it can feel like everything is suddenly out of your control. Still, sometimes a community answers with something steady, like prayer, presence, and love in public. On a Sunday morning in Blue Ash, Ohio, Catholic sisters and local faith leaders stood outside the ICE field office as Haitian residents were told to report after temporary protected status for Haiti ended. The first person arrived at 7:42 a.m., and the street filled with nearly 700 supporters, holding signs that said things like, "Love your neighbor, no exceptions," including banners from the Sisters of Divine Providence. Priests and pastors offered communion and prayer as people moved toward the entrance. The day carried both uncertainty and care. After hours inside, the first man re-emerged with a GPS tracker clamped around his ankle. Around the same time, about a dozen more Haitian residents from the Springfield area were expected to report that day. And late last month, ICE had sent letters referencing the end of temporary protected status for Haiti, which had been upheld by the Supreme Court. What stands out to me is how faith can look practical in moments like that. The sisters were not just offering words, they were making sure nobody had to face the unknown alone. And even as plans expanded to Blue Ash, the same message stayed clear. You belong, we see you, and we will keep showing up. After decades of waiting, women baseball finally took the field again in Springfield, Illinois, and it felt like more than just a new season starting. It felt like a promise being kept. On August 1st at Robin Roberts Stadium, the newly launched Women's Professional Baseball League opened with its inaugural game between the LA Queens and the NY Heights. Fans arrived ready for history, and the day gave them more than expected. At age 99, Maybelle Blair returned to throw the first ceremonial pitch, a living connection to the Peoria Red Wings season of 1948 and to the advisory work that helps shape what comes next. Her return turned a symbolic moment into something deeply personal and real. Then the game itself wrote its own milestone into the record book. Danae Benitez hit the league's first home run and backed it up with a 4-for-4 performance, along with 3 stolen bases. It was the kind of all-around, unstoppable energy that makes you believe the sport can run forward without leaving anyone behind. What makes this story hopeful is that progress does not only live in new schedules and bigger plans. It lives in people who step back into the circle and say, I am still here, and there is room for you now. With a season of 30 games running through September and a goal to expand with more teams next year, the league is building the future one first inning at a time. There is a particular kind of environmental progress that does not arrive all at once but quietly, through people finding ways to protect what is close to home. Today, we will step into a stretch of Turkish coastline where protection became practical, and then it became visible. Between Gokova Bay and Cape Geladonia, the Endangered Landscapes and Seascapes program organized a grant starting in 2019, supported by the Arcadia Fund UK, and grounded in work that began at Cambridge University. With about $3 million for the project, the program helped expand protection for roughly 310 miles of sea. It supported the creation and expansion of 18 no-fishing zones between 2019 and 2023, with protection taking shape further by 2020. But the lasting piece was not only boundaries on a map. Turkish coastal defense staff had pointed out that limited resources made deterrence difficult, so the program trained local Marine Rangers and built coordination with law enforcement. In the years that followed, illegal fishing fell by about 80%, and the change showed up in the day-to-day rhythm of communities who relied on the water. As the sea regained room to breathe, wildlife began to return. Sandbar sharks were reported again, and more than 30 endangered Mediterranean monk seals were seen, according to Kızılkaya. It is a hopeful reminder that when local knowledge and real-world enforcement work together, conservation can become something communities practice, not something they only hope for. As always, I have a wonderful tip for you to help with your mental reset and find a little more steadiness and joy in the world. Today, we are focusing on a simple habit that costs almost nothing but can change how your week feels. Here's the practice. Once each week, choose one person and thank them on purpose, not with a vague thought that disappears before bedtime, but with a real message or a real moment. It can be a coworker who covered for you, a friend who listened, a neighbor who checked in, or even someone who did something small that you noticed but never named. Make it easy on yourself. Put a reminder on your calendar for a time when you are likely to have a minute, like Sunday afternoon or Wednesday evening. Then write 1 or 2 sentences about what they did and how it helped. Keep it specific. Thank you for the way you followed up lands differently than thanks for everything. If you are stuck, start with, I have been thinking about you, and I wanted to say this out loud. When you do this consistently, gratitude becomes a weekly doorway back to connection. Try it once and you will feel the difference. We made it to the end of today's 10 Better Minutes episode, and I just want to thank you for spending a few minutes with me here. If the news cycle has felt heavy lately, I hope this gave you a quieter kind of proof that decency and care still show up, often in ordinary ways and sometimes right under our noses. If you have a good news story link or a local positive moment that you think other people might have missed, please share it in the comments. I genuinely love reading those, and it is a nice way to pass the light forward. This is Ian Rhodes with 10 Better Minutes. Take care, and I will meet you again tomorrow.